The San Jose Sharks have finally gotten a return for the Jake Walman trade as he is headed to Edmonton.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network, we cover your team every day, especially when there's breaking trades at 11 p.m. at night. We got you covered. So if you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today, we're going to be breaking down the Jake Walman trade. Look at if Mike Grier setting the table for a big summer. Nico Sturm also got traded. And we're going to take away positive things from the Sharks' 7-3 beatdown by the Colorado Avalanche. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Okay, I had actually recorded an entire episode. I was literally hitting publish, like about ready to hit publish. It was ready. It was going to premiere in 8 minutes on YouTube, and the Jake Walman trade comes through. So I had to scrap that whole thing because I spent half the episode just looking at Oilers prospects who I'd want. Spoiler, it was Bo Akey. That's who I wanted. Anyway, so we have the official trade. Jake Walman heading to the Edmonton Oilers for a conditional 2026 first-round draft selection. They also get Carl Berglund. Let's start with the draft pick because that is the big news from this trade. Top 12 protected because the Oilers do not have their 2025 first round pick. They traded that to the Philadelphia Flyers last year so they could get into the end of the draft. They traded it during the 2024 draft so they could get into the end of the first round to make a selection there. So they already owe the 2025 draft pick to the Flyers this year. That's fine. We'd rather have the 2026 draft, because that is projected to be a much better draft class. And while we expect the Oilers to be good next year, most likely picking, in the mid to late 20s, that's fine. That's still further assets. So the selection is top 12 protected. So if the Oilers poop the bed next year, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl both get hurt or something, it's a top 12 protected pick. Edmonton may then transfer their 2027 first round selection to San Jose. Should Edmonton choose to trade their 2027 first round selection prior to the 2026 NHL trade deadline, the 2026 first round selection will be the Sharks pick no matter what. So if they basically say we're going to trade our 2027 first round pick, you get the 2026 pick no matter what. Most realistically, Edmonton's probably going to be pretty good because they still have Connor McDavid, they still have Leon Draisaitl. They're probably going to be pretty good. The Sharks are getting a late first-round pick in the 2026 draft. Awesome. We'll get to that in a minute. Carl Berglund, 25. He's played. He's in the AHL playing with the Bakersfield Condors. He was born in Sweden. He's spent time at UMass Lowell. Like, he's a college guy. Hasn't really, he's not much of a point production guy. 12 points this year in 45 games. He's a big boy as the Sharks continue to add big boys. 6'2", 207 pounds. He was also the team captain for UMass, which is kind of cool. But he is more depth pieces as you expect. We saw the Sharks tonight, and we'll get to the Sharks game later, but you saw the Sharks tonight. They're going to have a ton of call-ups, right, from the Barracuda. They're just trying to add pieces and more protection, and then to help the Barracuda get to the playoffs. And then when they send everybody back they just have depth, right? And that's kind of the plan for the Barracuda right now. So the 2026 pick, though, the Sharks could conceivably, right, if they do make that, they could have 4 straight seasons of picking multiple first round picks, right? 2023, you got Will Smith and you got Quentin Musty. 2024, you got Macklin Celebrini and Sam Dickinson. 2025, you're having most likely getting a top 3 pick and a Dallas pick. And then 2026, you have a first round. You're gonna have your own first round pick, and then the Edmonton Oilers pick. So the Sharks can have. Mike Grier has restocked the war chest of draft picks for the San Jose Sharks. That does include the second round pick you get from the Colorado Avalanche, plus your own picks. Like Mike Grier has this season done a great job at restocking the draft picks, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But let's talk about the Jake Walman part, though. Right. And just the asset management. And I know a lot of fans and seeing on Twitter and stuff, like fans were, and I was, to be honest, I was a little shocked when I saw Walman got traded because I thought Walman was a piece that you'd maybe want to keep around for, at least the rest of his or at least until next trade deadline. And then you could maybe figure something out from there. But the asset management from Mike Grier of getting a second round pick for just taking Jake Walman, which you picked Leo Wallenius with, let him go out and have his best offensive year and strike while the iron is hot and trade him now. Because watching Jake Walman, the first half of the season was much better than the second half of the season. And you wonder if Mike Grier maybe felt they had a little fool's gold with Walman's production in the beginning. Maybe they felt it wasn't sustainable, especially when they started adding other pieces around. Who knows? Or maybe you just got a deal that is just too good to pass up and getting a first round pick in the 2026 draft. But that's good asset management of somebody sent me the Dwight meme of like I turned this thumbtack into a telescope or whatever he like from The Office. It's excellent asset management, right? And this isn't the first, right? You took on Mikael Granlund, who was literally going to be waived. Let him do his thing, and you got a first round pick out of him. Mike Grier, these reclamation they all haven't worked, but when they work, they work. And this one definitely worked for the San Jose Sharks. So, I mean, it definitely leaves a huge hole, right? And we saw tonight again. Colorado is ridiculous. We'll get to talk about this game a little bit, but like the Sharks have a massive hole in the blue line without Jake Walman. But the last time I checked, the Sharks have like $40 million in cap space this offseason. And they also need to spend like $20 million to get to the cap floor. So you're going to have to spend on you're going to have to spend it on somebody. So, and I do think the Sharks are going to rip apart and put back together their blue line this offseason because I think you have to with Askarov coming. So I do think for San Jose, like as shocking as it was, I kind of like the trade because I'm still, if you're Mike Grier, you're still in asset management mode, asset gathering mode, and you've restocked with some massive pieces. And we're not even done yet because we still have 12 hours as I'm recording this. We still have 12 hours, and I don't think Mike Grier's done. And I think he's setting the table for something big. It may not happen at the trade deadline, but I think we're going to see another massive move from Mike Grier. If it doesn't happen at the trade deadline this summer, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But Jake Walman, though, seemed like a good dude. good for him. Go play on a really good Edmonton team, and for the Oilers who are trying to figure out winning a cup, I don't think they can solve their goaltending. So let's just throw more defensemen at their issue. So that's my guess at what they're doing. Just throw defensemen at the issue, and I think Walman is probably going to be more of what you expect from Walman, is kind of a second pairing defenseman on most teams instead of being kind of the minute muncher, do it all guy for the Sharks. But yeah, turning nothing into something. A second round pick, and you got a first and a second round pick for having Jake Walman on your roster for 6 months. Like, let that sink. That's beautiful asset management. So we're going to talk about if this is a setting up for a bigger trade for Mike Grier, kind of look at what the Sharks assets are right now, talk about the Nico Sturm trade, while I feel it was fair value for them, and then positive takeaways from a 7-3 beatdown. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. NBA action is here, and if you want to get in on it, you need to check out FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or just want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay on the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. And maybe you like to bet on LeBron and Luka to do cool things because those guys seem to be doing really cool things, or nothing better, I think, in sports than watching Steph Curry do Curry things and a Curry flurry. So if you bet on those and you win, FanDuel's got you covered because you get paid instantly. Their app is super easy to use, and right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, before we finish up with the Jake Walman trade, again, I feel like Mike Grier is setting the table to do something big. Do want to, of course, thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done, we'll do that. If you haven't already, perfect time to subscribe. Make sure you're following, especially on YouTube. We got exclusive content, especially for game day stuff. Really close to 4K. Like, I'd love to hit 4K by the end of the weekend. So if you haven't done yet, please hit the subscribe button, or you can listen wherever you get this podcast as well. So Mike Grier, is he setting the table? So let's look at what the Sharks have for assets right now. And it is, again, like, he has done a great job of spinning gold out of nothing for the Sharks. So he now has 2 first-round picks in this draft. And again, we know this draft is not the greatest draft, but you're going to have your own pick, which is going to be a most likely top 3 pick. You have the Dallas pick. You have your own second-round pick, and you have a third-round pick in the upcoming. You also have a third-round pick from Colorado, and for the third-round pick. That kind of got around from all the anyway. Third-round pick. Next, 2026 class, you have 2 1s and 2 2s. You have a lot of stuff. And while picking high-end players in the draft, it's great. At some point, I think you're going to have to consolidate. And we saw him do it with Askarov, right? You got a bunch of stuff from the Hurdle trade. First-round pick, David Edstrom. And you turn around and package those up for a goalie who did not feel like he was going to ever get a shot. Kind of made a bit of a stink about it. Next thing you know, the Sharks have Yaroslav Askarov. What's the one weakness in the Sharks prospect pool right now? Right-handed defenseman, right? And those are hard to find. And even if the Sharks pick first in the draft this year and they get Matthew Schaefer, left-handed defenseman. And yes, guys can play on their offhand, et cetera, but the Sharks still need like a defenseman, like a high-end defenseman now, right? Because even if you draft Schaefer, he's probably not playing next year. Maybe he plays in the NHL next year, maybe he doesn't. Sam Dickinson, maybe he plays in the NHL next year, maybe he doesn't. But are you going to put all your hopes and dreams on next year's team, which we do expect to be? We want to see them play better, right? And want to start to see more wins and stuff. But are you putting all that pressure on an 18 or 18-year-old defenseman in Schaefer, or a 19-year-old defenseman and Sam Dickinson? I think the Sharks are going to be aggressive in finding a young defenseman who fits the timeline, right? Of guys who are cracking the NHL or maybe not given a chance elsewhere. And I keep thinking about Simon Nemec. And again, I'm just speculating right here, right? Like it's right in the My Career playbook. Let me get a bunch of assets and turn around and go get something that from another team where it's just not a fit. And Simon Nemec or Simone Nemec, in My Career, we know the history of the Devils. Those guys, we've seen, right, multiple trades with that team. Timo Meier, Mackenzie Blackwood. Like we've seen those two work together. And the Sharks have the pieces. Like they have all the draft picks in the world. They have the best prospect pool. If you got to trade one of your pieces, and if you want to trade one of these picks to go get a guy who can help you starting next year, I'm just saying. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's like a Noah Dobson or whoever it is, right? We've done a whole bunch of guys. Maybe it's a Bowen Byram. Like, I know some of those guys are left-handed, et cetera, but like, don't be surprised if some of these picks start to burn a hole in my career's possible. Because yes, picking 4 first-round pick, or 8 first-round picks in 4 years, that's great. That sounds super fun. But again, like by the time some of these guys start to make an impact, you're thinking like a guy like Eklund, who's kind of the first piece, right? He's 22, a first round pick in 2027. And then by the time that guy, like Eklund's going to be, mid to late 20s by the time this guy's making a realistic impact. So I think my career is setting the table to do something big. And again, maybe it doesn't happen at the trade deadline, but I think this summer he is going to go do something big with it. Because it feel like we've seen this playbook before. So that's my guess. Who knows? Maybe my career is just happy to pick these guys, and but I do think he's going to be aggressive this offseason because he knows he has you did the hard part in finding the superstar player Macklin Celebrini. You've got a star player budding in Will Smith. You have a star player budding with William Eklund. You have the goalie of the future is expected to be the guy next year, or at least get his first full season in the NHL. You need some help on the defense. You can't go into next season with the same defense. And I think that's where he goes with it. So we're going to talk Nico Sturm here in a second. We're going to talk positives from a 7-3 beatdown by the Avs. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. All right. Before we finish up, do want to, of course, thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done with this one, go check out one of the other great shows here at Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Hopefully you had Cale Makar on your fantasy hockey team, or at least weren't going against Cale Makar or Nathan McKinnon. If you were, thoughts and prayers. Or go check out one of the other great shows, Locked On NHL. I will be on the Locked On NHL show on Friday with Gil, where we'll be breaking down everything that happened in the NHL. It should be fun. Gil's the best, and then I'm there too. So, or check out one of the other shows here in the Bay Area. Locked On Niners, Locked On Warriors, Locked On A's, Locked On Giants, all great shows that you can find wherever you're listening to this show, or you can watch on YouTube as well. Okay, let's start Nico Sturm. So, of course, Nico Sturm was traded earlier on Thursday, whatever day we're on. They got a 2026 fourth-round selection from the Florida Panthers in exchange for Nico Sturm and a 2027 seventh-round selection. So, let's start with the return. So, a fourth-round pick, I think, is more than fair for Nico Sturm, right? Nico Sturm is a role player. A very specific role player. If I were to have you guess how many minutes you think Nico Sturm was playing this season for your San Jose Sharks a night, it was 10 minutes. On the worst team in the NHL, Nico Sturm can only carve out 10 minutes a night. He has a very specific role. He's going to be very good at killing penalties. He's good defensively. And he's awesome in the faceoff dot. But like that is a defensive role. He's going to do a great job with the Panthers, playing on the fourth line. Maybe pots a goal here or there, but that's going to be his role, right? Is the exact same role, just with better players around him. I think way back to when the Sharks traded Andrew Cogliano to the Colorado Avalanche, guess what his role was? Be awesome on the PK, be a professional in the room, go do defensive stuff and score the occasional goal. And they got a fifth-round pick for him. So that's fine. That's exactly what I expected, was that type of pick. And maybe you had to send the seventh-round pick to bump it from a fifth to a fourth. That's fine. You know how easy it is for GMs to generate seventh-round picks? Mike Grier you can move back a couple spots in the draft and get a seventh-round pick. GMs love to trade away. If there's people they don't like at the end of the draft, they love to trade away their seventh-round picks for seventh-round pick in the next year. Like, you see it all the time. It is seventh-round picks are yes, you can maybe find somebody there, and there's so many success stories, but it's a seventh-round pick. Like, they're so easy to generate. So I think it was a perfectly fine. Nico Sturm, I will always have a fond memory of Nico Sturm and his time in Teal. He came in, did exactly what you wanted to, helped to just kind of elevate the professionalism around the team. But you got a fourth-round pick for a role player. You take that every day. So it's perfectly fair value. So let's talk about some positive takeaways from a 7-3 beatdown. Let's start with William Macklin, who scored his 100th career point in the NHL. Had a goal and assist tonight. Hardworking goal of just kind of pouncing on the puck, and we've seen, I think the 100-point milestone, I think, is a nice reminder of where he's come from, and a guy who early in his career, we were, couldn't score a goal, et cetera, et cetera. There was questions, remember, you go back to his time in Sweden, the struggle scoring. Still, I think would like to see him score a little bit more. That's just me being, greedy, but he's already scored 100 points in less than 160 games, right? And remember, the Sharks team, they're kind of bad at scoring. So seeing him hit that milestone already it's really nice. And I say the 160 games because he's almost at 160 games. And if you don't know, once you hit 160 games in the NHL, you have to now pass, you can't just go through waivers. You can't just be sent down. You have to pass through waivers. So our Swedish son is growing up and is soon going to be no sending him down to the Barracuda or anything like that. He's not that he would ever, go back, but it's just those little milestones for him. And I think though, it's just great to see like a guy like the first guy that we're here that we're like Locked On Sharks was like, this is the dude, draft this dude, the first foundational piece in the rebuild in William Eklund. It's great to see that like he is thriving. And as the Sharks get better, he's just going to get better and better. And as the environment around him continues to get better, I think he's going to continue to rise up and drag more people with him. So, congratulations, William. It's good to see you flourishing. So, another milestone tonight, Macklin Celebrini, 20th goal of the season. Absolutely outstanding. What a season we've seen from this young man. And again, we know Sharks lost 7-3. Celebrini has some defensive zone breakdowns, and like the Avs are a well-oiled machine who just got Brock Nelson. Also, the Central looks like it's going to be a freaking bloodbath between Rantanen now going to Dallas. Like it is. Good luck. The Wild are very much the team like trying to sneak out the back of the restaurant right now because they do not. Yeah. Good luck. So, but Celebrini, beautiful goal. Could have had a hat trick the other night. The pass from Will Smith and the maturity from Will Smith there, right? Of like kind of dealing with, some physicality there. He's got a guy right on him, makes a pass that is just like, if it's a couple inches one way, a couple inches the other way, it's getting knocked away. Puts it right where it needs to be, and Celebrini slams it home. Those two are going to be amazing for the next 15 years for the Sharks. Like it is, we are going to be just blessed with beautiful hockey from those two. So congratulations, Macklin Celebrini, hitting 20 goals. I know Michkov did it earlier in the night to hit his 20 goal mark. Granted, he's played more games, but congratulations, Celebrini, on that. And Colin Graf, who I think actually had the best pass of the night, his pass to Fabian Zetterlund on that goal. Colin Graf, he has this great, you saw it early this season with the Barracuda. That time in the AHL did him wonders, but he has the abilities to just be in the right place at the right time for the puck to find him. And I know it sounds weird, but like, well, yeah, the puck finds you. He's always in the right place. That's that hockey IQ of just knowing where the puck's going to be. And I'm just going to be in the right place because the puck's eventually going to get to me. And right place tonight, great pass where, again, if it's half an inch one way or half an inch another way, it's just getting knocked away, puts it right where it needs to be. And just, you could see not only like just the confidence and almost arrogance of like, I got this. I'm going to put this exactly where it needs to be. And he did it. And it's good to see Graf continue to grow. And I'd love to see him continue to carve out more 5-on-5 time at like with some better line mates here. And hopefully as the Sharks call up some people, will potentially see that. But the Sharks really found something with him. And I think he's going to be a really nice kind of movable piece for the Sharks. If you need him to be kind of play on the second line because maybe somebody's slumping or somebody's injured, he's going to probably be able to do that. It's nice to be just like an awesome third line guy who's going to be great on the penalty kill and just be like a souped up third line. Sign me up for that. Like the Shark, Mike Greer and the staff, I know he was highly touted. Like there was a lot of people signing up for him, but to be able to get him and now see his development, like the Sharks have something really nice with Colin Graf. So, and then one final one tonight. I know the Sharks, again, you gave up 7 goals, but Alexander Georgiev, man, he battled tonight, and the Avs, like they almost make it feel personal the way they score on you, and it's Nathan McKinnon's a maniac. But the dude battled tonight. He's battled all week, especially on this road trip, playing back-to-back earlier this week on short notice, playing 3 games in 4 nights. Like Georgiev has absolutely battled. And I don't expect him to be here after this season. But like tonight, he battled. He fought hard, and none of those goals were soft. Like that was just the Avs putting on an absolute clinic against a much inferior team, a team that is definitely out of gas. But yeah, man, I just want to shout him out. It was a again, you gave up 7 goals, but the dude was out there and he was working and he was trying and he kept fighting even despite the score being what it is. So that's gonna be it for me tonight. We'll be back right after the trade deadline. Of course, we'll have reactions to all the moves that the San Jose Sharks make on your next episode of Locked On Sharks, wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Mike Freihole. Until like 12 hours from now. Bye, friends.